Well, I'm excited, the way this group has come together. We got a lot of new faces here, and going to get going here in under 2 weeks and get on the field and start putting this group together and formulate a team. And it's kind of the new era of college athletics when you have to add people in. You got to integrate them into your culture, your system, and again, the competition that we've encouraged within the program is taking place right now, and we have a lot of jobs open for that competition to see who comes out on top here this spring.
What did you see from DK over the course of his first year here that gave you confidence to promote him?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. DK's confidence, his interaction with players. I probably sat in more of DK's meetings last season than any other coach, and when Brian told me his intentions to retire, had some conversations with DK about his vision and what he saw, and it was very much in line with what I'd like to see us step forward as a defense. And I'm excited to see this group led by him kind of take the field here in a couple weeks. I like his attention to detail, his intensity, his expectations of getting the little things right. I think his time, whether it be with Matt Campbell at Iowa State or his time with the Eagles, will definitely pay off in a lot of different little things that, we talked a lot about the continuity of our staff and how that was important, and I do feel that's important. But at the same time, when you're able to add new staff members, you see how other things are done, little ways of tweaking, little things of making your program better, and I look forward to DK being a big part of what we do to move this program forward.
Was that continuity a kind of a top priority when you had to fill those spots?
You're asking the continuity of promoting from within.
Guys that you already had.
Yeah, I think some of that is always because they know that. But I think when you have those type of people in-house already, that you have to look at it. And again, there's of how we go about it, how our culture's done, how we practice, all those things. And again, I think each one of those promotions is slightly different, but again, it's going to benefit us.
What were some of the things defensively that you hope DK brings or evolves with what you guys have done?
I think there's some things that we've been able to do. I think will be simpler in some ways. Again, I don't want to get into comparisons of overly past or whatever. I think expectations of how we're gonna do things, how we're gonna rally to the ball, what we're gonna do, and fundamentally sound were things that I just really like the daily approach of how he addressed his position group and how that's going to carry over into our defense and make us, what we expect to be a better unit.
Lance, what's it mean to get Lubick back in the program?
Excuse me, yeah, get me that gay guy over there. I think, as I talked many times before, I thought, and this isn't taken away from any past coach, coordinator, or anything that we've had here before, but I thought in the 22 and 23 seasons, Matt Lubick's contributions to our program, to our offense, and ideas and thoughts, little tweaks that we were able to do, but really what his advanced work early in the week was really time-saving for us. I know that was an adjustment last year for us without him, and to get his ideas and thoughts I thought was a huge. I made one phone call. When Jeff resigned, and once we promoted Jim, Matt was the number one target, and he was anxious to return to Lawrence, and I'm excited about that.
How do you think he has adapted or will adapt at tight ends, which hasn't been his primary?
If you look at Matt's career, he's an excellent, smart football coach. He's coached defensive backs in his career. He knows the game. He's grown up in it. He's involved in it. Yeah, there'll probably be some slight adjustments with the tight end, the inline stuff. But I also am very confident that in the adjustment of rules that analysts and others can coach, we'll have a lot of people that'll be able to be involved and help there. And he's embraced the opportunity to coach that position.
What's it like having over 25 newcomers hit campus?
Again, when we talk a lot about the changes, the calendar and everything. The time that they're reporting, we're gone a lot, and so it's kind of tough. And when you bring them all in, and you kind of get reports from the coaching staff or from the strength staff about what the guys are doing. I've had a chance to get around them on some of these days. It's exciting. It's different. We lost a lot of good players that have been part of this program for a long time. But it's exciting to see these guys come together and work, and as they're excited for their new opportunity, we're going to start seeing that here in the next couple weeks, and I'm excited to see what we have. I think there's been some small indications of some guys getting out and doing some things publicly, that we've got some quality young men that are going to add to Jayhawk football as we go through on and off the field.
How exciting is it to have some true home games again next year and play in that renovated stadium?
Yeah, it's really exciting. We're moving along in a way that hopefully here in the next couple weeks and to a month that we'll be able to access more of the building and more of the operations center for our guys on a daily way. We'll never know exactly the impact of not having games here in Lawrence played on last year's. I don't want to, it's not an excuse. I said it last year, I'll say it again, that we weren't going to use it as an excuse. But I'm sure there were some parts of that really has put its toll on this program. Really for over 18 months of adapting and doing some things, and when we're able to get in and be fully functioning the way we want, I think it'll pay dividends.
Quickly going back to Coach Zabrowski, I know he's called plays for you in the past.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like with him about getting promoted and what that looks like?
Yeah, I've known that like Jim was the first coordinator I ever hired. We called the bowl game in Arizona. Again, when I made the decision that I was going to go outside to make the hire when Andy left, Jim was very professional about it. I talked with Jim about if there were opportunities, some things that I would be looking for and what I was looking for. And I can tell you this, I've been extremely, extremely impressed with how Jim has taken this and how he's organized the staff, how he's gone about the offseason and studying our self-scout stuff, what we're doing moving forward, everything. And he's excited, and I've seen a highly positive change in his demeanor. I think energized at this stage of his career. We had a talk even before the position opened that he was in a comfortable place professionally, that and being a play caller he wasn't going to go chase jobs. If a head coaching opportunity had presented itself, he was going to explore that. But other than that, he was very happy here. His family's happy in Lawrence, and to see that happen, I know that he's going to put his heart and soul into this. And as a head coach working with Jim Zabrowski, we've been very fortunate that we won our share of football games. I know Jim will do a fine job.
Jim and Matt are both going to be in new roles, but having broadly an offensive staff that's worked together, and how much do you feel like that's going to help?
It'll help a lot. Jim, working with Daryl last year, but Jim and Daryl crossed over at Minnesota together. Matt and Jim really bonded well when Matt was in his role as an analyst. So I think that was one of the things that excited Matt about coming back. I think he'll probably answer that himself, but I think we still have good continuity of thoughts. And again, as I said earlier, continuity's big, but stimulating new thoughts and ideas is always good as well. And Matt will bring new thoughts in, and making sure that we don't get too convoluted in too many things. But again, finding out what this new group of players are going to be able to excel at, and finding a way to be productive will be the key. And we'll start taking those steps here shortly.
What kind of advantage is it when your play caller has such a good relationship with the quarterbacks and knows them so well?
And it's extremely important. I think in some of the things with Jalen and his thought process, where him being comfortable with Z has been very important. They have a strong relationship. I think Cole and Isaiah the whole way. He's been through recruiting that, and in today's world, you got to make sure that relationship is strong in what we're doing. So I think that'll be very, very important as we move forward. I think it's important that we give our quarterbacks input on what they're liking, what they're comfortable, and I know those guys will have that type of dialogue.
With wide receiver, that was the position you guys had to hit really hard in the portal. Can you talk about that strategy a little bit?
Well,
Because you go out to get some guys who can help now, some
Yeah.
multi-year guys.
Yeah, we everything that we still try to look if we can, if multi-year guys are available, we're going to try to lean that way. But again, in most cases, a lot of guys are entering for an opportunity with 1 year left. It just happens to play out. But again, that's part of what today's world is. Again, we're looking for all body types that we can. We wanted to get some length. We obviously wanted to increase our speed. I think a guy like Emmanuel Henderson has shown in early workouts that he has those type of abilities and will help us. So, it'll be interesting to see them all get out there. Cam Pickett's been one that I know our quarterbacks have enjoyed working with as well. Very explosive player from Ball State. So we're excited to see who. Again, I don't want to give up on guys like Doug and Keaton that are already here and some of those guys. And then we have some newcomers and early enrollees. They're going to have an opportunity to show what they can do. So we've talked about it in other years. We're talking about it again. Is we want to continue to create a culture of competition that our guys know that. And our practice formats, and some of you've been able to see some of those at times, is we're going to create opportunities for everybody to show what they can do, and it's really open at a position like receiver with that many guys leading the program.
Linebacker's another spot where you guys had a lot of openings.
Yeah.
What was your goal with the linebacker room, and what do you like about what you guys had?
Again, to find linebackers that, we lost some experience. We needed some proven players there. We think we have some fine young players that are going to get also the opportunity this spring, but we had to watch ourselves that we weren't going to become an extremely young football team again like we were our first year here. So balancing that, finding guys with size, speed, physicality that could fit what we do within the scheme were going to be important. And again, I think we found some guys again that are going to be able to do that.
Have there been any young guys that have kind of stepped into bigger leadership roles? I mean, with so many new players.
It's still a little early to tell on
Sure.
that. I think, in the offensive line, I think Bryce Foster and Kobe Baines. I've noticed Kobe, carries himself a little bit differently now. I think the confidence of his season last year and what he's been able to do, I think hopefully he can keep emerging. I look at guys like Taylor Davis as a guy in the secondary that you hope will he has leadership qualities. Logan Brantley's a guy that has shown some of that in his way. But again, guys are trying to establish themselves as consistent players in our program. Sometimes that kind of doesn't put them in the position yet to be the full leader that they want to be. I like the way our other, besides Jalen, Cole Ballard, I said from the start, has had natural leadership ability. Isaiah Marshall has shown that as well, and we'll need that from them. Deshaun Hanukkah is a guy coming off injury, that an extremely mature young man that's been through a lot, and I know he's been a fine leader so far and somebody that we'll lean on as well. But I think that's another question towards the end of spring. I think we'll see some other guys emerging.
You mentioned Jalen. You guys added a fair group between experienced guys and young guys. Going in, did you know you guys wanted to go after younger players? How did that kind of process play out?
Again, a little bit about, availability, interest, and all that goes through, but we felt it was going to be guys that could they help us and do that. And as I said earlier, we want as much consistency as we can have. And I know it's, the new way of doing things and adding to your roster. We just don't want it to be every year to be upperclassmen, and it could be. It's one of the things I want to take a hard look at is really, and I started a little bit last year, is who we're lining up against, and what is the experience or age, or is everybody reloading with seniors, and are you playing a bunch against, again with appeals and everything and waivers, you're playing against 24-year-olds as much as you're playing against 19-year-olds these days, and there is a difference with that in physical development and understanding. But we want to try to make sure that if we can have guys that are going to be productive players for Kansas, we want them in the program as long as we can.
You mentioned Jalen. Just how's he doing at this point?
He's doing fine. It's again, his procedure was something that had been irritating for a while, and it was something that he had kind of re-irritated itself in December when he was working out, and it was something that the decision was made. It was best to get it taken care of now. Probably find out here in a couple weeks exactly what we can see out of him this spring. It'll be very limited, but again, he's progressing well, and again, he takes things in such a good way and finds a positive in it, and again, he'll be able to lead from the sideline right now and go from there.
Does having the continuity with Jim as OC help you be optimistic about the future of this offense, just knowing that he doesn't have to learn a new offensive coordinator?
Yeah, and that is big, and again, just like whether everything was, I think I said it last year. I probably gave Jeff a tough, dealt him a tough hand in some ways, is because it was like we weren't going to change our terminology, and we're going to do that. So this one is as smooth as. Are there going to be changes? Yes. There's things that have already been simplified to try to make it easier, within our terminology and things like that. But that's true every year. And but to have that consistency, and especially for Jalen, with one more year to go, we wanted to make sure that he could play at his best and be as comfortable as he can be.
Does it concern you at all not having much of Jalen this spring when you have so many pass catchers coming in?
Would it be ideal to have him? Yeah, but I still think the evaluation of what we're going to see from the receivers, of their ability to get lined up, the ability to make plays, do the things that are needed, and then we feel very confident that, again, a full summer and those guys working together, and he has some ideas of getting together with them already, and a plan that I think he'll be able to bridge that gap quickly.
Lance, did you talk to your quarterbacks when you were deciding to promote Jim or bring Matt back? I mean, is that an after conversation or a during? Or?
No, it was probably more. I knew the direction I wanted to go, but it was probably more with Jalen. I had conversations with him on what was happening. I had conversations. If you look back at it, the timing of that became right about the time Jeff departed, and Jalen was announcing he was coming back, and those were aligning around the same time. So I made sure, and again, and for Jalen and everything he's given this program, I felt it was my responsibility to enlighten him about the situation. So I was very forthright with him about what was going down and what my plan was, and where I thought it was going as the head coach, about what I was going to do and again, that was about a 72-hour plus thing with Jeff. So I knew we're, I'm already starting to move on it in my mind. And then, the next call was, of course, to Matt. If the job had opened, this is what I'm thinking. Do you have interest? And I don't know if I fully even got the question out if he was in or not, and he said yes. So it was pretty exciting. And once I told Jalen those two steps about where it was going and where it was going to be, I think his familiarity with Matt made it even more exciting about what our passing game will be.
You've expressed happiness before about the analyst rule, allowing more people to coach, and now you've promoted one of those analysts. How helpful is that as a development tool for coaching?
It is. It's tough. Sometimes in this new world, I was excited about it because now we finally get to play the same rules that most guys have been doing, as you know. But did I just say that? To have Brandon and Matt, guys who've been analysts, it depends on where your analysts. If it's somebody that's been an experienced coach or where the fit is, but it's a tough balance, and you want guys that they're able to step in if the opportunity presents itself. It's not always a guarantee that if the position opens, a guy's elevated, but it's nice to see, and I think the guys that are in those roles, understand and appreciate that there is a possibility to be the lead coach.
Transfer portal. Sorry, you go ahead.
You guys obviously didn't get that 6th win that you were chasing last week, but the 3 wins before that were huge, and I wonder how much that helped in the transition from that team to this new team, and guys in the culture and all that. How big was it?
It was big. It was highly disappointing the way we finished. I think we ran out of steam and played a lot better football team than we probably anticipated, and though we respected. And I think some of the other things, whether facilities, I just think a lot of it, how much was in the tank, and playing the ranked teams. And I know this is that our team was really excited about, you know, the challenges that were in the middle of that schedule, especially probably the Colorado game, and the excitement over playing that. And, you know, as a head coach, I didn't do a good enough job to get them to bounce back off a win like that to go finish it out. So does it carry over? I sure hope so. I think I've said it at some speaking engagements. I think it was disappointing in many ways based on the season and the start especially. I think we know here in this group, I think it showed up that what was once viewed as probably a very manageable schedule turned out to be one of the more difficult schedules in college football, and that's not me, that's people in your world kind of putting those things together by past formulas. The thing that I'm most proud of the resolve and the leadership of our football team, that we had it, that we stayed together, we kept working, and we found a way to have that, you know, those really nice wins, I guess, in that part of the year. And we hope that remains part of our culture here as we move forward.
With all the newcomers in offense, how beneficial is it to have a guy like Jim come in and be elevated to a role?
Oh, yeah, I think it's to be very important. A guy that, you know, Jim understands, you know, it's not, I think there were some things last year that we grew through, you know, with the growing pains of whether it be practice formats, practice pace, different things like that, of how we're going to do. You know, Jim's like I said, has been with me. I think now, besides that little break he took when he went with Jerry Kill, I think we're going on about 11 years together again, and so he understands what, you know, my expectations, the program's expectations, what we're going to try to do, and I think between all those guys and you know, and Terry Samuel's been now maybe 4 years, and I've, you know, of course worked with Terry before, but Jonathan Wallace, who was here before we got here, now is very acclimated in what we're doing, and all those guys together being on the same page and getting everybody up to speed, I think will be important and will help us move forward with a lot of new players.
Can you point to one strength, Jim's biggest strength as a coordinator? From your past, I know it might be a little bit different, but what jumps out?
Probably with Jim, you know, Jim doesn't he's the ultimate guy. First of all, he's not afraid of something not working. He's very aggressive in his play calling. And if you look back to the bowl game and things that were highly aggressive, I think I've talked before, you know, the year before he came and joined us at Whitewater, he was the head coach at Lakeland College, and they played Whitewater that year, and I think he went for it on fourth down like 17 times in one game. So, you know, he was like, the only way we're gonna have a chance is if, you know, and so, and Jim's a guy, like, if you go for it on 4th and 4 and it doesn't work and it's 4th and 4 the next time, he's not gonna bat an eye and say, he'll say, I'll have something that'll work, and he's not gonna let it. And the thing I love about Jim Zabrowski is he's a throwback football coach. He's very creative in all those things, but Jim loves coaching football. And if Jim was not the head coach, or excuse me, if he wasn't the offensive coordinator at Kansas, he'd go back and be the head coach at Lakeland College, and it wouldn't bother him one iota. He has low ego. He loves coaching the game. It doesn't matter what logo's on his chest. He loves coaching kids, and he's highly positive, and I know our guys will feed off of that.
What were your thoughts on the release of this year's schedule, especially the week 0 and the 3 bye weeks?
What do I think of our schedule?
Yeah, it's hard to say, obviously, but
it's unique. As I said to somebody once, you know, my wife and I just celebrated our 25th anniversary last summer. It was on July 24th. We're going to have our first practice on July 23rd. So 26 years ago from this coming July, I got married, went on a week's honeymoon, came back, and still had over a week before the team reported. So everything is getting more condensed, and a week 0 game does that to you. I'm not, you know, 3 open weeks, it makes a long season, so we have to make sure we keep our guys fresh. At the same time, that can be a positive when if you're banged up and you're trying to get guys healthy. So we'll see, we'll manage it. I think we've come up with some good ways to work our practices. You know, much like last year, our trip to Arizona is followed with an open week, which is so if you get with that if you get a night kickoff and you get back really late, you don't lose that time. Some of those things. I think, what do we have, 3, then an open week, and then we have 4 in a row. So at least last year's, we had the open week, 2 games open week. That didn't really fall very well for us as far as things. But I do think as far as how they're spread out, I think it's pretty good. I haven't studied everybody's schedule within the league, but I didn't see anything that was way over the top of any imbalances on how it was set up.
Lance, were you surprised that Jeff left after the season?
Yeah, I was. I'm not going to say it, but as it went down. But looking back, I respect his decision and could see some of the factors that might be part of it. And it's one of those things. I appreciate everything Jeff and his family gave our program, but at the same time, like I said, once it was trending that direction, I was full speed in getting Jim on board and going the other and making sure that I was taking care of our program.
I know the transfer portal is always changing. Was there a unique challenge that you guys faced this year that maybe you didn't see in years past?
I don't know. I'm sure our staff will tell you some, but it's getting unique. That's for sure. I'll just leave it there for right now on some things. It's there's the window of time and all that is very interesting, and the way things are happening. Most of our guys, like when we were doing it a couple of years back, when we brought most of those guys in, most of the time it was like a regular recruiting weekend. A guy would stay 2 nights, and now we almost say it's like speed dating. They're coming in. We didn't have any. I think we had 1 guy stay 2 nights. Everyone was because they're trying to get their visits in. It's really fast, and you're trying to make it work, and again, that's where you got to make sure you're doing as good a homework as you can for the right fit. Not everybody that came on campus was a fit, and we had to make some tough decisions. So that continues to be the challenge in this.
Thanks.